All right, let's talk about the architecture of online anger. In this explainer, we're going to break down why it exists, how it actually makes money, and what it would take to build a digital world that's, a little healthier for all of us.
You know that feeling, right? You're just scrolling through your feed, minding your own business, and you feel it. That little spike of irritation, that jolt of, are you kidding me? It can feel relentless, almost like the whole system is built just to get a rise out of you. Well, here's the thing. You're not wrong. That feeling isn't just in your head. It's actually a symptom of a much, much bigger system at play. A system that's pretty much become the default business model for our digital lives.
And that brings us right to our first section, the rise of the angry business. We're going to look at how our online spaces went from places of connection to these, psychological battlefields. And the scary part? It wasn't an accident. It was by design. So what exactly is the angry business? Well, according to thinkers like historian Yuval Noah Harari, it's not some evil mustache-twirling conspiracy. It's actually a system born from cold, hard mathematics. Its only goal is super simple: maximize user engagement. And it just so happens that it figured out the quickest way to do that is by poking our most primal reflexes, our outrage, our fear, our tribal instincts. Harari's quote just nails it. The technology isn't really creating something brand new. It's more like a funhouse mirror. It's reflecting our most reactive, fearful instincts right back at us, only it's magnifying them and then cashing in. Okay, so how does this anger actually turn into profit? That's what we're getting into next, inside the outrage machine. We're going to pull back the curtain on the actual mechanics and, you guessed it, follow the money. Because it's one thing to say it exists, but how does it really function, on a practical, moment-to-moment, click-by-click level? How does your gut reaction become revenue for someone else? This quote from an early Facebook executive, Chamath Palihapitiya, is honestly one of the clearest ways to think about it. It's just a simple reward system. The algorithm screams with angry content, you reward it with your attention. And pretty soon, it learns that screaming is the best way to get what it wants. So here's how that feedback loop works, in 3 simple steps. First, you react. You see something emotional, you click, you comment, you share. All of that becomes a data point. Step 2, the algorithm learns. It quickly figures out that outrage is incredibly sticky. It keeps you glued to the screen way longer than happy or neutral stuff. So, step 3, the feed amplifies. It just pushes more of what works, creating this personalized outrage engine designed to keep your eyeballs on the screen, where the ads live. And this is the absolute key, something that whistleblower Frances Haugen made crystal clear. The algorithm isn't immoral, it's amoral. It's blind, it has no idea what's true or fair or good for society. It only understands one thing. It's metric. And that metric is engagement. If anger serves that metric best, well then anger is what it's going to promote, no matter what the consequences are. Which leads us to the real-world impact of all this. Because this isn't just about code and data, it's about the very real, very human price we're all paying for this business model. And here's where you see the fundamental clash. The algorithm's values are things like engagement, clicks, reaction, virality. But what do we as humans need to thrive? Things like understanding, empathy, truth, thoughtfulness. These 2 value systems are basically in direct opposition, and right now, the algorithm's values are winning the war for our attention. Physician Gabor Mate even reframes this whole thing as a public health issue. He suggests that all this collective outrage we're feeling, it's like a form of mass addiction. It's a way for us to numb ourselves and find some relief from these deeper feelings of being powerless or disconnected. And the psychological fallout is pretty severe. This constant state of digital anger makes us feel more lonely and alienated. On a physical level, it can trigger chronic inflammation that's linked to heart damage. It acts like this tribal adrenaline that just erodes our ability to reason together. And it becomes a shortcut, right? It's easier to feel angry than to deal with more complicated emotions like grief or fear. Okay, I know that sounds pretty bleak, but, and this is a really big but, it does not have to be this way. So for our final section, we're going to talk solutions. How do we move from a system that exploits our minds to one that helps us reclaim them? This is the question that really matters, isn't it? After understanding the problem inside and out, what are the actual concrete steps we can take to design a digital future that's healthier and a lot more humane? Well, the experts we've looked at suggest a whole toolkit of ideas. For technologists, a kind of do no harm oath. Economically, maybe we could have a social harm fee, like a carbon tax, on the ads that fuel this thing. Educationally, we could start teaching emotional literacy just like we teach math. We also need external watchdogs, audits, to hold platforms accountable. And on a personal level, even simple acts of mindfulness and taking time to think, that becomes an act of resistance. Ultimately, this is the big shift we need. We literally have to change the goalposts of the entire system. We need to go from measuring success by time consumed to measuring time well spent, from just looking at engagement metrics to looking at well-being indices, from designing for viral chaos to designing for thoughtful discourse. And this quote from the Dalai Lama really reminds us where the power is. The technology, at the end of the day, is just a tool. The code doesn't have a conscience. The responsibility and the solution, that's all human. It all comes down to the intention we put into the tools we build. And Jane Goodall gives us this beautiful, actionable takeaway. Healing a system this big and this complex, it can start with really small, individual actions. Every single choice to be kind, to pause, to try and understand instead of just attacking, that sends a ripple through the network. It's like a little neural spark that helps rewire our collective mind. So we're going to end with this really powerful question. The tools that are now dividing us, we built them. And that means we can rebuild them. The choice isn't technology versus no technology. It's about which human quality we decide to amplify. Will it be our most reactive fears? Or will it be our deepest capacity for connection and maybe even love? That's something to think about.